Welcome to my home. This is Donegal with the beautiful Harvey's Point in the background. What a lovely event to be part of. This Inside Out event for Friends of the Coombe Hospital. I'm honoured to have been asked to show you a little bit of my Donegal and of course my beloved Harvey's Point. So let's have a little tour and thank you for joining me as I extend Donegal hospitality online to all of you. And I sincerely hope that after this you will come and visit. All over Donegal you will find the good old reliable rhododendron. They grow wild. Sometimes you're driving along a mountain road, say over at Pettigo, and the landscape all around is covered in the old wild rhododendron. Now, of course, at Harvey's Point and elsewhere, we have included many of the cultivated species as well. So thus you have this gorgeous, vivid one here nestling in the background. But the rhododendron, when we didn't have garden centres, when we didn't have people who sort of ran horticultural centres, we very much relied on going out and stealing little slips of the wild rhododendron to include it in our gardens. Many people did that, including my late mother. And then, of course, they're a bit of a scourge because, as gardeners will know, they do tend to take over. But that's the rhododendron that has a very close association with my beloved Donegal and now Harvey's Point. I mentioned the historical side of Harvey's Point, and over 30 years ago Jody Gisling found this little farmer's cottage I referred to before, and from that grew this gorgeous hotel. And of course what people must remember, that a lot of the ground we are standing on and around the hotel and upon which the hotel is built is actually reclaimed. Jody actually drew tractor load after tractor load of stone to make foundations. And I suppose this was part of the original sort of idea, that you were going to have a small restaurant with rooms eventually, but of course it grew into an international hotel. And down along here we had stables, but you see all around it's very much making full use of trees. The planting this year is a little bit behind. Why? Because of COVID, and naturally enough we didn't have our gardeners on duty because we weren't allowed to. So we're kind of trying to restore the landscape now to what it normally is. And I have to say, it's looking beautiful. Loads of trees. I mentioned rhododendrons. We have all the trees you would find in gardening centres because they all blend so beautifully with the native species here in Donegal. We've kept a great number of the old trees, oaks and sycamores, and you had what we used to call sally rods, and they kind of almost reed-like by the lake. The wild rhododendron, just beautiful setting to begin with, and still looking gorgeous. We're open all year round, so because of that we have lots of greens, but lots of variation, lots of variegated. So with beautiful rhododendron and azaleas, you'll find Rose of Sharon, different coloured leaves, and of course our beloved roses. Roses actually grow very well in Donegal. And maybe they just like the kind of microclimate in around the hotel here, but they grow happily amongst the foliage and add that much needed splash of colour. So that we're trying to combine the blue of the water to the front of the hotel with the natural setting of the mountains at the back, the purple heather, the bit of colour in our gardens and in our grounds, and also that we combine all those colours into one big palette. Down in this lovely little corner, we call it Lover's Bridge. When brides and grooms get married at Harvey's Point, we give them a little lock with their names on it and the date of their wedding, and they add it to the bridge in the background. We've also added flowers that will give a little hint of the Orient. You know, we try for acers or anything with an Oriental Japanese feel, and of course a little bit of colour. And in the late spring we have lovely cherry blossoms in the background and at different parts. And of course the forest flame always adds colour at different times of the year. So this is a lovely favourite little corner of my own, with beautiful cultivated rhododendron and azaleas everywhere, again for splashes of colour, with all the different greens and the natural trees that were here as we reclaimed this land. We have most of our main suites in what I call the new block that was added in more recent years. This lovely block behind me are what we call the Lakeshore suites, and they were added on about 25 years ago. And recently we divided every two into one. They all have their own balcony. We let the grounds, the flowers, the hollyhocks, the lupins, sweet pea, everything like that grow pretty wild, because it works, because you're looking out over the lawn onto the beautiful lake. So again, a lovely peaceful corner, lovely colour all the year round, and to sit on your balcony here with the water lapping on the shore, having a glass of chilled white wine on a summer's evening, heaven. So typically Donegal, we have the mountains, the Blue Stack Mountains, we have the beautiful lake, we have Donegal Bay, and all of our public rooms behind me pretty much open on to the lake or a mountain view. You have the ballroom for our beautiful weddings, for our summer cabarets, for other lovely events. You have the restaurant, you have the lounges, you have our magnificent terrace and our gorgeous bar, and of course memories. Again, all with their own private view of a heavenly lake and lovely grounds, and dotted around the hills, which at any time of the year are simply beautiful. All our main hotel suites, and of course, as I said, our Lakeshore suites as well, enjoy spectacular outlooks. Nature gifted us the most glorious setting you could imagine. It's a little bit of our imaginative thinking of Switzerland, the Alps, the beautiful waters of the Caribbean or the Mediterranean, all wrapped into one and dropped between the Blue Stack Mountains and the open ocean here on the wild Atlantic Way. We've tried to enhance what nature did by adding our own special touches in choice of trees, shrubs, gardens, and of course the design of Harvey's Point, the most beautiful place for a wonderful break here in Donegal. Behind me, the view that our guests enjoy every day they wake here at Harvey's Point. It is simply stunning. Lough Eske at its most beautiful. I hope you've got a little flavour of Harvey's Point, nestled here, as I said, by the lake, with the Blue Stack Mountains in the background and Donegal Bay just a stone's throw away. It all began in this humble little farmer's cottage many years ago, and into now what it is, a luxurious leading hotel of the world, of which we are very, very proud of. We do at Harvey's Point everything we can to ensure that visitor and local alike leave our hotel with an impression of warmth, hospitality, and good old Donegal friendliness. I myself, as some of you may know, I have been very fortunate to finish my working career here as an ambassador for both Donegal and Harvey's Point, after a lifetime of travel around the world in media and of course in beautiful hotels. And it was these travels and my work that inspired me to write my little book last year called Noel Cunningham's Guide to Modern Irish Manners. It's a little guide to gracious living, and in there we cover all the major life events we will experience in our lifetimes. And I have great sections in there on weddings, christenings, naming ceremonies, etc. Well worth a read. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, because of course, having written it and etiquette being around for so long, we may have to change one or two things now in this post-COVID world we live in. Thank you for joining me at Harvey's Point. I hope you come and visit very soon. The warmest of welcome awaits, and the friendliness of Donegal which is renowned around the world, is here waiting for us to say Fáilte.